right, everybody, it's time once again for the Rage Select Podcast, the Don Magic Memorial Podcast. And while I'm stuck here in sunny Hellfire, Austin, Texas, Jason, you are coming to me this week from the flaming fire pits of the world of apocalypse.
I am the new god of apocalypse.
Oh, yeah? Did you kick Darkseid in the nuts, or...?
Yeah. I made him Omega Beam his own butthole.
Like you just kick Darkseid in the nuts and you're like, that's the anti-life equation, bitch.
The anti-life equation is getting kicked in the bowels.
That's right. Oh, man. Well, I tell you what, some stuff has been going on. I mean, it's weird. Usually when we start this stuff out, we talk a little bit about what happened in the last week, and I was, I went on a vacation that basically ended up being staring at the wall for a few days.
Really?
Well, that was what I wanted to do. I went to Ohio, and I was up there, and my dad was like, do you want to go to Cincinnati? Do you want to go to this museum? Do you want to drive over to Cleveland and see your friend Kevin? And no offense to Kevin or anything, but I was just like, not really, Dad. I kind of just want to drink beer, sit on the couch, and not look at email for 2 days. I can tell you, though, as much as I hate going to the airport with a fiery, vicious passion, there is something about going to the airport when you've been awake for 22 hours straight that is just that much worse.
Oh, just surreal, I bet.
Yeah. I went on my way back. I was like, I'm hungry. I need to eat something. So I bought a sandwich and a bag of chips from a TGI Fridays to go, and it cost me $13. So on my way back, I had this bag of chips. Like, I did get a chance to eat before my plane started boarding, and I didn't want to put it in my laptop bag because they're going to get crushed. And I don't want to eat them on the plane because, what a fucking asshole move that would be, just sitting there. These are great chips, you guys. So I was just carrying around this, bag of potato chips, or there were potato skins, like it was some kind of precious cargo, like it was my second carry-on bag at the airport. And it was stupid. But yeah, I went to Ohio. It was beautiful. I sat outside on my parents' deck and drank beer with my father in 76-degree weather for a bunch of time.
Bliss.
Yeah.
Did you play any video games while you were there?
No, I brought my laptop, and I was right on the verge of bringing my 3DS. But then I decided there's actually a new book in. People. Jason, when people write in and they ask us I want to read sci-fi. What should I read? I remember, I don't know if we ever talked about it on any of the shows, but I was talking to you a while back about this guy, this James S.A. Corey, the pen name of George R. R. Martin's personal assistant. Well, he's got a series of sci-fi books called The Expanse, and they're really good. And a new one came out last month. So basically, I just brought my Kindle and read books the entire time.
And it was good stuff.
Yeah, no, it was really good. The only thing that pisses me off is that, is there a word in the English language for when the difference between when you get into something? Like if I was to start watching The Sopranos right now, right? I could watch all of The Sopranos. But if you get into Game of Thrones, you get to the end of the last season of Game of Thrones, and you're just like, damn you to hell! I have to wait.
It's like, oh man, we're gonna have the salad. Oh, this is good salad. Okay, an appetizer. Wait, I have to wait a year for the main course?
Yeah.
Damn it!
I think if that motherfucker can get $40,000 for potato salad, we should just start a Kickstarter that's like, HBO, I want an episode of Game of Thrones on every single goddamn week until the thing is over. We will give you as much money as you want. I would be willing to kick in personally $1,000 if I could guarantee that for the next 2 years there was going to be an episode of Game of Thrones every weekend, every Sunday until that shit was over. Because I don't want to wait. I want to know what happens. Motherfucker.
I actually have. I just had a brilliant idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should go on Kickstarter and say, if you don't contribute, we will do something horrible.
Hold it hostage, be like,
yes.
Well, it would be. Well, I'm just imagining this this old timey Hey, it's a real nice show you got there, that Game of Thrones. It'd be a shame if anything happened to it,
Yep. It's like, I will set this orphanage on fire if I don't get the millions of dollars required for HBO to release a new Game of Thrones every week.
Yeah. Well, how? I mean, So I didn't do jack shit this week. I went to my cousin's wedding where I found out, and I really hope my cousin doesn't listen to this show. But like, I don't know if you've experienced this before, Jason. But like when you're a kid, my mom's side of the family got a bunch of aunts and uncles and stuff. When you're a kid, you're just a kid or whatever. And then when I was in my 20s, I would go up there and I'd start to see the dynamic of which one of my mom and her sisters, like which one's the uptight one and which one's the fun one and which one's the one that likes to do this stuff. And then this time I went up there and a bunch of my relatives were there, and I was like, oh shit, is my family like the only people who are entertaining around here? Because no one will. I'm throwing them softballs. I do this shit for a living. I'm just like setting them up, make a joke, and they're all just like So also, they made the unforgivable sin at this wedding of trying to serve a Texas man ribs, and Jesus, I don't know who that person was. It was terrible. It was bad.
Oh, it was just offensive.
They were just pork ribs, and it was like, oh, okay, you didn't smoke these in anything interesting. You didn't put any like hickory or anything in there. Whoever made these they're making just a shit ton of them for this wedding. The barbecue sauce tastes like ketchup, so I can't even drown it out with that. Like, and everybody around me, they're just like, ooh, just good. I'm just like, have you guys never even had ribs before? Because you should come have your wedding in Austin in Lockhart, and I'll show you what the reality is.
Yeah. I'm having some considerable difficulty finding decent barbecue out near Apocalypse.
On the moons of Apocalypse, you can't find.
I wanted to slow roast some brisket over a fire pit, and then a cacodemon or a parademon came and ate it.
Yeah. Don't jump the gun with cacodemons. We got a news story about that, but it's coming up later.
Cacodemon, that's a little different.
Yeah. Well, has anything of note happened to you in the past 7 days on the fiery shores of Apocalypse?
Actually, yes. I tweeted about this and put it up on my Facebook page. It was very spur of the moment, so a lot of people missed it, but some people saw it. I was with a friend of mine, Mr. Brushwood, whom we all know and tolerate. We went. I was dropping him off by his friend's studio.
Okay.
And he was going to go in there and record a Let's Play or something like that. And he said, "Yeah, why don't you come in and say hi?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" Mm-hmm. And it was in this like kind of rundown industrial area, and we go into this gorgeous studio with like they've got a recording session room, with a drum kit and instruments and all that. And, it's all soundproofed and what have you, and then a sound booth for doing VO and all this video equipment and games and Mario mural on the wall, and then a giant fully stocked bar.
What? Did you die? Are you sure you didn't get hit by a car and accidentally go to heaven for a few minutes?
Oh, it was amazing. And it turns out his friend is one Greg Grunberg, who played Officer Parkman on Heroes.
Oh, yeah.
And he was in Alias, and he's in Masters of Sex every now and then right now.
I've seen him in a few things. He's such a good everyman. You look at his face and you're just like, I like that guy. I want to have a beer with that guy.
Yeah. And he is a great guy.
Yeah.
He is exceptionally nice. And then he said, "Oh, yeah, well, and Brian's like, "Oh, Jason is on a video game podcast where they do Let's Plays." He's like, "Oh, really? We should come on with us." Mm-hmm. They were about to do a live stream. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like a talk show meets, because you can see them playing. Then on the screen in the background, you can see what they're playing.
Okay.
It was a cool setup, but they didn't have everything set up yet. It was all kind of new, so they really only had the Xbox One and like the Wii U going. So I couldn't play everything, but we went on there, and Brian was like, "So what are the restrictions like about language and everything?" And they said, "Well, as long as you're not being just like obscenely racist." And I just kind of nodded, and I was like, "Well, all right.
So slightly racist, that's okay."
There was a little bit of racism. There was a joke that I made. It was in poor taste because we were talking about Brian being the member of the PC master race.
Oh, okay.
I said, yeah, one time Brian actually rounded up 7,000 Xboxes and put them all in a camp.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's kind of racist, but not really.
Kind of racist, yeah.
So wait a minute.
But,
are you telling me that you're let's playing around on me? That you're out there let's playing with celebrities and other people on the moons of apocalypse?
I was pitching the show.
Oh, okay.
I was promoting the show. And I mean, because if you see it, it's like at Captain Murphy from Rage Select.
Okay, good.
And then, yeah, we joked about you a little bit, but I wouldn't worry about that.
Shit.
We
now I gotta go to Twitch. Fuck.
No, it really wasn't bad, but it was just like, it's like, who do you do this with anybody else? I was like, yeah, we have Brian on every now and then, and the guy that owns it is Jeff. They're like, so just Jeff. If I just Google Jeff, and I'm like, yeah, sure. And so then we had little games like, okay, if you Google Jeff, who's the first Jeff that shows up? And it wasn't you.
Right.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was, actually. My guess was Jeff Goldblum. It was not him. But, yeah, we had a good time. And, yeah, it's like, as I put on Twitter, it was like they were kind enough to ask us to come on. And as a thank you, we behaved like filthy hooligans.
That's kind of what you want, though, is if you ask Brian Brushwood to come on your show, you don't want him to be like you don't want him to be Brian Brushwood, father and upstanding citizen. You want him swilling soy sauce in a tent in the backyard. Like, I could find anybody to be an upright citizen. I could go next door and get my neighbors to come over here and record if that's what it takes. It's funny. I actually looked up Greg Grunberg's list of acting credits, and I did not know this. So Greg Grunberg was in the 2009 J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
I didn't know that.
And I'll tell you why you don't know that. He was the voice of James Kirk's stepfather.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that came out of the car. I did not know that at all. He was also in Halo Reach. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, he's done a lot. He was in L.A. Noire. He talked a little bit about that on the Twitch stream, but he told a funny story. So, excuse me, his best friend is J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
And he said that when Super Mario Brothers first came out, they had borrowed it from his cousin. I'm paraphrasing, but they had borrowed his cousin's copy, and they were trying to play it, and they couldn't get past the 1-1 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And they were like, "Well, where do we need to go?" And then he's like, "Well, go." He's called his cousin, and he's on the phone, and he's saying to his cousin, "Well, okay, my cousin's saying, JJ, go down the pipe." He's like, what pipe? I can't go down the pipe. He's like, go down the pipe. He's like, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Tell him to shut the fuck up. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. It's like, JJ, he's 7. Yeah, so funny video game anecdote about JJ Abrams telling children to fuck off.
There you go.
But yeah, so we're going to be back on, I believe, on August 9th.
Cool.
On August 8th, their 36-hour Mario video game marathon begins.
Ooh, wow.
And it is for charity.
Okay.
And, he asked Brian and I to come back on, so we're going to go there and help out with that for an hour or two, however long they'll have us.
Cool.
And, so you guys should go on Twitch and sub. It's Socialtron Live.
Okay.
Is the Twitch channel. And, yeah, it was a hell of a lot of fun. And, yeah, they put up with us. They actually asked us back. So...
actually, you know what? That reminds me of something that I just want to put out there real fast before we get over to the news. So I've been thinking, Jason, having the live show, I like doing the live show, and it's been a lot of great practice. But right now, Kayla's out of town, and so John's going to step in at least for the next week or so with the live show. But having the live show every Sunday means that I literally do not, literally, used in the correct term, do not have a day off during the week where I'm not doing something Rage Select related.
Yeah.
So what I've actually been thinking is, and this is something we've never done before, so if this turns into a complete shit show, then hopefully we'll just have a funny story. But hey, person listening to this podcast, yes, you sitting there in your own filth and Cheeto dust, do you live in Austin? Are you kind of a dick? Do you like video games? And do you have an interest in sitting on the other side of the red couch? I've been thinking about this for a while, Jason. I've been thinking about
oh my God,
subbing out Sunday for like talking to people and see if there's anybody else here in town who wants to be a part of this loose affiliation of pitchfork wielding crazy people called Rage Select. So
what have you done?
Yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing. They're gonna know my address, man. You think I'm gonna have like at least 4 panic attacks during this process. But
God, you're gonna have to like online dating things, like meet in a public place for like 2 dates. And then take them back to your house.
Oh no! Okay. So first of all, you and me, prospective person, are going to probably have lunch somewhere, and then we're going to drink, and I'm going to see how that goes. And then
I'm not going. Don't bring me into this.
No, not you. Me and other person. Me and the Cheeto dust.
Okay.
Cheeto dust person I'm talking about. But if you want to do this, I want you to send an email to mail@rageselect.com, and I want you to make the subject line Cheeto dust, because that's what I just said, and my brain is a terrible sieve.
That's as far as he can go, guys.
That's right. So Cheeto dust, and I want you to basically give me your pitch about why I should let you know where I live and not be scared of you knifing me in my sleep. And I think that if we start getting some some good applicants, then I think that we might turn Sunday into a pre-recorded show, but a show where it's like, we've got, Allison's been on and Aaron's been on, and we got Grant, we got John, we're mixing it up with our normals around here, but basically kind of finding more people so that, right now we're in a situation, Jason, where if one of the people that I just mentioned, especially with you out of town, if one of the people that I just mentioned is sick or bummed out or doesn't want to be on the show, or they have the AIDS or I don't know, Ebola, then I'd like to be able to have more people that I can call on. And it's nice, too, to just, get to know some other people in town, because God only knows it's a huge-ass circle jerk with all of us here.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
I wish you the best.
Yep.
And when they hack you up and bury you somewhere, I get the Xbox One.
Okay.
And the other shit, whatever. I don't care.
I mean, is there? What else do you want? Is that it?
Oh, your dog.
Okay. Yeah. Well, no, dude, you can't have my dog. Your dogs don't like other dogs. Like,
yeah, that'd be a problem, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to give you my dog. I mean, your wife is like my dog's girlfriend.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, she's been over here baking for like 3 days and just loving on my dog. That's pretty much
baking cakes.
Yep.
She's not like getting baked. Let's be clear about that.
You obviously don't know. Yeah, I would have said getting baked if that. Yeah, that would be a weird thing to announce on a public podcast. Jason's wife likes to just come over and get high at my house. It's pretty weird, man.
While I'm out of town. What the fuck?
No, it's actually mescaline. So with that, let's go ahead and get on to the news. And we've got a couple of real kind of big, interesting stories here, Jason, and then we've got a couple of small stories. We actually may end up doing our 90-minute podcast this week because there's less news. I mean, I had a whole bunch of news stories, but there's some of them I was just like, oh, look, EA made a whole shit ton of money last quarter. Ooh.
Boring.
Yep. So I tried to pick a few that I thought would be both informative and interesting to talk about, and so let's get right to it. The first one of these, and this is something I didn't even know about until today. Are you aware of this stuff with the Yogscast?
Yes.
Yes.
I did read about that. And, this is not good.
So for those of you who didn't read about it, basically, Yogscast, as I understand it, is kind of a loose affiliation of YouTube Let's Players that have come together like the United Federation of Planets, and they have a whole bunch of subs and all that stuff. These dirty, filthy animals cheating. You're supposed to just scream about your dick by yourself, Yogscast. No, I don't want to get into a beef with Yogscast fans. So they decided they wanted to make their own game. And this is actually really sobering because for a while I've been thinking about the idea of making my own game. But they did a Kickstarter where they were looking for $250K, and they ended up getting $567,000 and change. And then they partnered with this company, which I think I mean, hindsight's 2020 and shit like that. But the name of the company that they chose to make their game was Winter Cool Games, not Winter Cool, Winter Kewl.
Oh yeah, right.
Kewl. And they wanted to make essentially like an open world sandbox multiplayer kind of game. Well, these are really good intentions. This was a little independent developer. Well, what happened was Winter Cool Games kind of mishandled their money and some of the. Okay, we'll get into that in a minute. Basically, when you come right down to it, most of the money that they got after the Kickstarter is gone, and there is a beta, but it's not really even up to the standards of putting out apparently online. And so,
now they're like casting stones at each other and shots across the bow. No, it's these motherfuckers' fault, and no, it's their fault, and that kind of thing.
Well, so we'll get into the specifics of that in just a second. But apparently, they started out. There was some stuff that we'll come back to in just a minute. Yogscast took a bunch of the money back to basically deliver on the Kickstarter rewards. So everybody supposedly got their Kickstarter rewards. That's great.
Oh, good.
Outside of the actual copy of the game, which I think there still is a beta out there, and I don't know. I don't really know about that. And then Yogscast also found this game called TUG, the Untitled Game on Steam, and they gave all of the backers a copy of that as well, which is it looks like it's similar sort of to what they were doing, a kind of a Minecraft, but with more pretty graphics type of thing.
Okay.
And so now they've gotten into this. Now, as I read this story, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I read a section that was from the guy, what is this guy's name? Chris something from Winter Cool Games, and there's a big thing online where you can see a financial breakdown of all the different things, like $35,000 for concept art, $35,000 for concept art and character designs, $35,000 for modeling, $35,000 for textures, $35,000 for animation, $35,000 for programming, $15,000 for part-time Unity dev, $100,000 for programming application architecture, $3,500 legal fees, $1,500 for accountant fees, $15,000 for hardware, $5,000 for software licenses, $50,000 escrow for expenses related to development, and $50,000. It's worth noting here that $50,000 went to the physical rewards creation and shipping. And so,
damn,
there's actually a thing on their Kickstarter page that this should put into perspective for you guys a little bit about Kickstarter. They kickstarted $567,665, and they said that they got roughly $415,000 once all the fees and stuff were done. So they lost about $150K between the Kickstarter finishing and what they actually got paid out. But it looks like what the major problem here was. And look, I don't know this guy, and I don't know the ins and outs, and I don't know what his background is. I didn't bother to contact him on Facebook for comment or whatever. But what I can see here is that these guys. Okay, this is directly from Chris's statement on their Kickstarter, so I'm not making shit up here. Okay. This is a very good example of how my inexperience caused some problems in the development. Because we had worked out a contract that guaranteed each of the principal artists a $35,000 lump sum payment, and we didn't make any clear cause on how and why someone could legally stop working on the project, the artist in question got paid, worked for about 2 weeks, and then stopped working on the project.
Right.
So, I'm sorry, but I have no sympathy for this.
Yeah.
This is like gross mismanagement. I mean, even if you were going to pay somebody $35,000, you pay them weekly over the course of a year, and even if you're going to eventually pay them all that money, you could still keep $35,000 in the bank making interest while you're paying it out to them a little bit at a time. I don't understand what if you were going to hand somebody a check for $35,000, why the fuck would you make them sign like some kind of ironclad contract that if they were going to leave, they had to give something back or anything like that? Like, I just don't understand how you would even negotiate that in the first place. Like, Jason, you're my friend and all, but I wouldn't give you $35,000 in a lump sum without at least some kind of piece of paper outlining what you were going to do with that, even if it just said cocaine and hookers in crayon, and then we both signed it at the bottom,
Yeah, seems legit. Okay, sure. So just make this out to you or
Your Honor, I'd like to present into evidence Exhibit A, the contract Jason Murphy signed before he clearly bought a quesarito with the $35,000.
It was a good quesarito, to be fair.
So anyway, I mean, like, do you think that this is going to? I mean, I keep waiting for the day when we have one of these things that's going to burn people to the point where Kickstarter is going to, where people aren't going to be given $40,000 for potato salad Kickstarter anymore. Do you think this is going to be? Do you think this is going to have anything like that?
Oh God, I don't know. It's like this stuff keeps happening, and people just keep giving money.
Yeah,
and it just keeps happening.
I mean, I guess when you look at it, like the success story to failure ratio is still very good because we get stuff in early access on Steam and stuff that gets released was kickstarted all the time, and we only hear about this stuff when it's a colossal shitstorm.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some good. Those are the ones where fuck ups this big aren't that common.
Yeah.
In the greater scheme of things. But what was the statistic? How many of them were actually fulfilled? How many Kickstarters? I don't remember.
Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Number.
It was somewhat limited.
Kickstarters. I don't know. Yeah, I can't really. But I don't know what to Google fast enough to get to that. But I don't know. I mean, have you seen stuff that says that it's been? I mean, because I guess I don't hear that many. This is one of the first big public, at least for video game Kickstarters, that I've seen crash. I mean, sometimes I've seen a couple of multi-Kickstarter rounds where they have to get more money to release the game or whatever. Or sometimes that stuff will go into early access after being kickstarted. But I don't remember seeing anything. I mean, this is $500,000. This is not chump change. Go down in flames like this, and I get maybe go down in flames is a little bit hyperbolic, but I don't know. It's interesting that Kickstarter is still rolling and that we don't see more trepidation. I keep seeing there's websites that have whole stories every week about let's look at Kickstarter. What's on Kickstarter this week? And early access doesn't seem to be slowing down at all either. I guess maybe the question is, like, we talked about this a while back when there was that lawsuit about fulfilling the reward stuff.
Right.
But,
right.
I mean, do you think that there should be any kind of hand in this that says, I mean, surely you can't hold these guys responsible if they fuck it all up and spend all the, I mean, I guess that's the question is, like, what are you going to do? How you can't, are you going to take this guy? I mean, the guy's company is already in bankruptcy, so you can't recover assets from him anyway.
Yeah. See, I don't know. I mean, there is a clause in the Kickstarter agreement that you do have to make good on stuff like that.
You have to make good on your backer rewards, but you don't ever have to actually deliver the product, I don't think.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure about that.
We need a lawyer. We need a Rage Select lawyer for this. So Cheeto Dust is the subject line. No. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is incredibly ambitious, but I tell you what, just from a personal level, like I said, I'd thought about maybe I've always wanted to make a video game, and I've often thought about taking some of the money that Rage Select has and maybe finding some students that, where I can hand them a check for $200 and they're like, oh, Mr. Moneybags, thank you so much. And I could be like, forget about it. I could be like Steve Buscemi in Boardwalk Empire, giving them like 20s, and they just be like, ooh, whoo. I mean, I personally am of the opinion, Jason, when you put money into a Kickstarter, you're essentially just throwing money into a lottery machine that you may or may not get something back out of.
Precisely.
As opposed to investing it or some shit like that. But I'm curious to know, people in the comments or listeners in Rage Select, like what you guys, if you folks, have y'all ever invested in a Kickstarter, and if you gave money to a Kickstarter, it didn't come back to you. Would you feel like you were entitled to get money back from the people that you gave it to?
Yeah, let us know if you've been burned before.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Or if you feel like you have.
Yep. All right. Well, next up, in another bit of kind of sort of heartbreaking news, depending on how you look at it. You remember before, Jason, we talked about Google buying Twitch?
Yes.
That's going to happen.
Yep, I saw that. An article on RageSelect.com.
$1 billion for Twitch, which
Yeah. I thought that sounded kind of low, right?
I don't know. I don't really have. I mean, I'm a human, and not I'm not Daddy Warbucks like you over there. My brain can't actually even contemplate what $1 billion means and what I would do if somebody handed me a bill. I'd take the $1 billion and then give them back like $990 million. And just go like, just give that to somebody else, man. I don't want that. I could take my $10 million over here, never work a day again in my life, and just be good with it.
Yeah. Well, man, what is it with Google buying all the things?
I don't know, and I'm really torn because I'm such a little slut for Google. I like a lot of the stuff that they've done. On the other hand, I have a very intrinsic like. I mean, I was a 16-year-old during grunge and punk rock and shit like that. I'm like, fuck the man, down with that motherfucker. You can't trust that. You can't trust corporations. They're all a bunch of evil assholes. But then I really like Gmail,
I know. It's like, oh, you're horrible corporate overlords, and I need you.
I mean, like Google Docs is the best thing. I mean, Google has about 5 different things that they've done. I mean, Plus can go fuck itself, really, seriously. But, the fact that I guess they're owners of YouTube, they didn't make it. But between like Gmail and Google Docs and the Android stuff on my phone, so I'm not having to pay $600 for Apple bullshit. I don't know. I like Google. On the other hand, I really like that Twitch was kind of the Wild West, that it was kind of just like, I don't know, whatever. We don't care. We don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Anything and everything, right? I mean, what are the limitations on Twitch? I don't even know.
Well, I do know that people would. I mean, obviously, if there was, if I started up my Twitch channel and was just like, guess what, everybody, we're going to watch Dark Knight today. Boop, hit play. Boop. They would be like, no. And I know that there was a bunch of. There was at one point in time, I guess Aaron was talking to me about. There was some game that leaked before launch, and they were shutting down Twitch streams after they had been up for like 30 or 40 minutes, but people just kept starting new streams other places.
I think it was Watch Dogs.
Oh, yeah, it was Watch Dogs. So, yeah, they are at least, they're cognizant enough to take stuff down that is breaking street dates and NDAs and stuff like that, and they probably won't let you put porno up there or anything. I wonder if they let you stream like The Witcher 2 with the boobs and butts and stuff, if they'd be like, nope, no butts.
It's weird because I don't understand. Like, I mean, I know the rules are different than like Twitch and YouTube, but on YouTube, you see some. It's like, oh no, okay, yeah, they don't have boobs on there, and then wait, no, there's a Red Band trailer with boobs.
Well, you have to be like logged in, right, to YouTube in order to do that.
Really? I don't know.
Because I know that I've seen some straight up nudity on YouTube, but I think that all that stuff you have to be logged in so that they can because then you have to assert that you're old enough to see it, and Google can then, or whoever is doing this sort of thing, then if a 7-year-old lies and says, yeah, I'm 18, then they go, well, we can't, what are we going to do? How are we going to?
Yeah.
You're going to make people
he was very convincing. That's
right. The drop down. You know what? I still find it funny, Jason. I don't know if you ever do this, is that a lot of times when there's a drop down menu to putting your age, I'll put January 1st, 1901. Because one of the ones on there. I keep waiting for a website when I do that to come back at me and just be like, fuck you. Come on.
Yeah. I wonder if, when how much that is skewed data metrics of people like a bunch of our users born on January 1st.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
I'll tell you what worries me the most about this is that Google has kind of I don't normally like to get on this because we've got our own comment section. I like Discus. I like the way that works, right? But, man, those YouTube comments, there's times where I'll go onto YouTube comments and I'll be like, where is this comment? And it's just gone, or it's always most popular first, like on the Facebook feed. And there was that time where they had it all dicked into Google Plus, and it was just like, dude, fuck you guys. Just let me write a comment. Like, one of the most irritating things about the whole Web 2.0 or whatever it is that like I don't want everything to be connected to my fucking Facebook account because Facebook's a bunch of rotten assholes and I don't like them. So, but I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like, when you check in on, BrazilianShithwhore.com, you don't want everyone on Facebook to know about it.
I will tell you this, Jason. I will admit freely to this on the air. Okay, so okay. I don't think it's any secret. I do watch some pornography in my spare time. Yes, I know. Clutch at your pearls, and oh goodness. But there's some times where you're on the internet. You're on, filthy BrazilianWhores.com or filthy Brazilian whatever.com, and there's a video, right? And then on one side of the video, they've got like Facebook, Twitter, Google, Reddit, Dig integration, and I'm like, who the fuck is cross-sharing this stuff? I'm so frightened. I put my mouse on the other side of the screen just because, like, it's one of the most horrifying. I'll just. And then suddenly tomorrow, my friends are all like, "Wow, Jeff, you really wanted us to watch that."
Yeah,
it just
it's like. Was that a man in Croatia fisting a bear?
What can I say? It's the internet, all right? It's weird over here. So I don't know. I really hope, and we'll have to wait and see. I mean, because we use Twitch for our streaming. We'll really have to wait and see whether, because right now the APIs for Twitch and stuff for them is kind of, it's real simple. It's pretty easy to use. I don't like the fact that you have to post a video in order to cross-load it to YouTube so you can download it. That's all bullshit. But I hope that Google doesn't try to screw up all of the social components of Twitch by making people go through Google+. That's the only...
Oh, please, God, no.
Yes, and the copyright thing, I hope they don't get auto, like those bots over on YouTube that'll catch your copyright. I mean, Twitch is a lot harder, right? Because... you're uploading a whole file that it's able to analyze on YouTube, whereas Twitch is you're just doing it right now. So I hope they don't just end up with a bunch of like spiders out there watching people's Twitch streams looking for Nintendo games so they can shut them down and be like, nope, sorry, can't do that.
Yeah, because that crap always like backfires and burns the normal guy,
I honestly don't understand. I mean, I understand it a little bit, right? But you see companies like Nintendo fighting against, monetizing Let's Plays of their games online. That shit is free publicity, and it's everywhere.
Exactly,
and it's built into the motherfucking consoles at this point. I don't understand, like. It just seems so fucking greedy that they're like, okay, well, we've given you the ability to record these videos on your console with integrated commentary from the headset that we sold you, but God fucking forbid that you get 0.01 cents per 100 views.
Yeah.
Because
for advertising for us,
right, for making our game look cool. It kind of makes me just want to go and start a brand new subsection of Rage Select called Everything You Like Is Shit, where it's just you and I on like a hungover Sunday morning doing Let's Plays where we just hate everything. Fuck it all, man.
Yeah, I kind of already do that.
Yeah, I like video games too much. All right, well, it's time to move on to the next section, which I like to call Shit is Delayed.
Oh, here we go. What now?
All right, this week EA is taking it in the directly in the delay pooper. I don't know what that means. That's a really weird thing.
What?
Yeah. So 2 EA games are getting delayed. Now, the easy delay, the one that's probably not that big a deal, is Dragon Age Inquisition is no longer coming out on October 7th. It is coming out on November 21st, which is kind of right at the end of the giant holiday game orgy. Kind of ends at the end of November most years. And I think that they would probably do a lot better releasing October 7th, but they said, we appreciate the enormous support we received from all of you to get to this point, and while this extra few weeks may not seem like a lot, I know the game you'll play will be all the better for it. So I don't really know what you could do in, what, is that a month and a half, something like that? I mean...
Yeah.
But I mean,
it sounds like just more minor or maybe one major one that they're almost done with, you know?
I mean, for a game like Dragon Age, where it's a giant, sprawling 60-hour RPG, it seems like a lot of this stuff is going to be set in stuff. I don't know. Maybe Freddie Prinze Jr.'s lines, they heard about the whole Peter Dinklage and Destiny thing, and they're like, "Wait, Freddie, we get back in here." So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like we said, finally, I'm excited about Dragon Age, and as soon as 1 week after I got excited about Dragon Age Inquisition, boop, it's gotten pushed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, we got Jeff's attention. Okay, now let's just shuffle it off into the future.
I like to imagine the entire video game industry as a huge corporate machine that is directly focused on what I want and screwing with my own expectations. It's like the Truman Show, where they're trying to control my life by moving games around in certain ways. And if that's
I like this, and I hope it's true, and they need to reach out to me, and I will assist them.
But I tell you what, the bigger one than that, the one that's pretty big, Jason, Battlefield Hardline is now coming out in 2015.
Oh, really?
Yep. No longer is there Battlefield this year.
Maybe it, yeah. Wow, because they're trying to do it annually. Well, I guess they said they weren't trying to do it annually recently, right? I think they did say that. Yeah. I think they were so burned by all the bad PR of the Battlefield 4 launch that they said, okay, and I know I think it was the CEO said as much, but yeah, sounds like they said, okay, yeah, we're not going to do that again. I was actually playing Battlefield 4 the other day on the PS4. Mm-hmm. I started it over yet again after having all those problems on...
Dude, the single player?
Yeah.
What is it? Well, I've told you. How many would you... You're like a teenager. You won't listen to me. It's not worth playing. Look up the ending on YouTube. Be part of the problem, not part of the solution.
It was worth playing. It just wasn't that great. It was like, okay, this is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I finished it. I mean, the game, you can finish the game in like 2 sittings. Mm-hmm. You know, as we've said before, it was extraordinarily short. But yeah, I actually had I was playing. I'm like, yeah, this looks better. It's running a lot better. And okay, it crashed. There we go.
Is it still? I mean, I haven't played Battlefield 4 since probably it came out. Is it still crashing?
It crashed on me on the PS4. Yeah. Fortunately, it didn't just totally bone my save game. Mm-hmm. But yes, it was still crashing.
That's
yeah.
Okay. That at this point is inexcusable. Crashing in single player on a console. Like, this isn't like you've got some kind of mod installed.
Yeah, exactly. It a year later, and it's still just completely shitting the bed.
I wonder if this has to do with Visceral and the single player campaign. I wonder if they looked at the single player campaign and decided we need a little bit more time to get this put together. Maybe it's not coming together as well as they had hoped originally, or maybe it was feedback from the beta they had after E3. You know. Maybe they got a real tepid response and they want to go in and try to punch that shit up and make it that much better.
Maybe so. That's a good point.
I hope it's good because I liked the Bad Company games, which were single player Battlefield games. So if they can do, I mean, I don't know how interested I am in the whole hardline on the streets shooting people thing, but I kind of like the idea of having Frostbite 3. Or I guess, is it Frostbite 3 or 4 they're using now? I can't remember.
I don't recall.
In a crime noir, kind of action cops and robbers, heat the town style thing.
I think it could be exceptionally badass. So, but I can wait. You know, that's fine.
Yeah, it's just, I guess the thing is that this is, I hate this trend, is one of the reasons I want to bring this up, is because this is the second year in a row. You remember last year, right about this time, when everything got pushed to 2014? It was like, this is in 2014, this is now in 2014. and it was just hey, Watch Dogs, you remember that? Now it's in 2014, and this year the same goddamn thing is happening. Oh, Hardline 2015, The Division 2015. Everything's 2015 now.
The world goes on. We're still gonna have plenty to play. So that's just it's the nature of things. Whatever.
Yeah. All right. So and then the third piece of upcoming stuff is, I don't know if you saw this, Jason, but the 2K Games UK branch posted an image on their Twitter of a BioShock style sign. Actually, it's a sign from BioShock 1 and the multiplayer for BioShock 2 of Eve's Garden with the lady, and it just said, "What does this mean?" ? Or, "Ooh, what could this mean?" ? So probably that means there's going to be another BioShock game, 2K UK. I like saying 2K UK.
Yeah, stop it. Of course there's going to be another BioShock game.
Yeah, but I guess here's the question: is that I think if you'd asked me to put money on it, if they were going to make another BioShock game, I think I wouldn't have expected anything to do with Rapture. They spent all that time and money making Columbia.
That's a good point. Let's move on.
Yeah,
let's see one of the other. Well, never mind.
Let's see one of the other. Spoiler.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've had BioShock 1 was set in Rapture, we have BioShock 2 was set in Rapture, and then BioShock Infinite's DLC was set in Rapture. We've had and I love Rapture, don't get me wrong, but
it's time to move on.
Yeah, let's do some other stuff. Like, I don't know, a civilization run by racists in a volcano. No, wait, they already did racists. Xenophobic. I don't know. Robots in a volcano. Sure. What about that? And everybody's got magic powers.
Yeah. Awesome. Dude, make it.
Yeah. I'm starting a Kickstarter right now. This is the spiritual successor to BioShock Infinite. So yeah, I don't know why they would be coy with some shit like this. 2K puts up a Twitter image and says, "What could this be?" It's a BioShock game. It's a BioShock game.
All the teasing, it's just like that gets. I mean, I know it's effective. It gets everybody talking, and it gets people. It gets fan sites just reporting on non-news.
Yeah,
it's like they haven't said anything. I don't know.
Where would
it's just the whole entertainment news with video games and comics and movies. It's such bullshit.
I at this point, I mean, I don't know how long it's been since I've talked about this. I fucking hate the movie shit. The movie shit is so. Here's a picture from the set. I don't care.
No.
Look,
it's Chris Evans eating a sandwich.
Yeah.
Great.
Who the fuck cares? But if okay.
Although
okay,
they just released a picture of Mark Hamill at the London premiere of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
And he's got this giant hermit beard.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, see? And I was like, it's all bullshit. It's all... Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, but I guess the thing is that, I mean, I guess the problem that I have with this sort of teaser news is that I brought this 2K story up for us to talk about on the podcast. As soon as we are done, in fact, by the second part of the podcast, when we come back from our break, I will have forgotten about that shit. And I will not think of it again until next year at E3 when they come out and they say, "Hey, everybody, here's the new BioShock game for next-gen systems." I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember they tweeted that bullshit like a billion years ago.
Yeah.
Same with Mark Hamill. By the time we're done with this conversation, I'll be like, you could probably even say, we've had conversations, Jason, where I'm like, you remember that time when I told you about when Mark Hamill had a beard, and the other one of us will be like, no.
By the beard of Skywalker.
That's right. When does Guardians of the Galaxy come out?
In just a week.
What?
As of this podcast, it comes out in a couple of days when the podcast airs.
August 1st? 1 weekend and 1 day? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I can't wait. So I'm going to ask before we move on from this story, what do you think, what would you like to see, what era would you like to see them tackle in BioShock next? Or do you have any ideas?
That's a good question. I had an idea a while back. I don't know. I'd like to see something like 60s.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah, like mod, kind of No One Lives Forever-ish, something like that, but with that BioShock steampunk ethos.
Well, BioShock was set in 1960, but the story, or I guess the Rapture was built in
right.
50s or, mid to late 50s.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's got that Art Deco look, but it doesn't really have the... Yeah, no, that's right. But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see a different take on that era. I don't know. What about you?
I want to see plasmids and all that technology from Rapture get out of there onto the surface. And what I want is like hardcore 1980s, but with superpowers, like Miami Vice with bees coming out of your hands.
That is brilliant.
Yes, telling you.
Yes, I want to play that. Give me Interstate 76 meets BioShock.
There you go. I was just thinking, what was the sequel? Interstate 80, was it 88?
Oh, something like that. Yeah, what was that?
I'm going to look it up. Interstate 81, was that it? Interstate 76, and the sequel was... Okay, this is going on for far too long.
Yeah, there's a forgotten one.
Yeah. Interstate 76 is a cool game. It's just hard as balls.
Yeah.
Interstate 82. There you go. All right. So next up, we got some bullshit. So do you feel like calling bullshit, pointing at something and saying that it's bullshit, Aaron?
Oh.
Or, I'm sorry,
did you call
Jason.
me?
I did. I'm sorry.
You motherfucker.
What?
What? I go away for a little while and you start calling me a different name? I rue the day I ever brought him into Rage Select. Oh, son of a bitch!
Oh man! So when this comes out, it'll be the day before our Patreon comes out. So Aaron came over today, and for our Patreon video, we played Killer Instinct, and I kind of managed to win most of our games.
Yeah,
and he was getting a little bit of that rage, a little bit of that patented Jeff rage, I think. But,
good. Yes.
Anyway, so I don't know if you know this, but last week was QuakeCon, or QuakeCon was like the week before or whatever.
Ah, yes.
So they were streaming QuakeCon, and they got to the point where they were going to show people actual footage of the new Doom game, and then they cut the stream. They confiscated everybody's phones. Nobody was allowed to take any footage of it, so only the people that went to QuakeCon got to see it. Which kind of pisses me off, because who the fuck wants to go to QuakeCon just to see trailers for Doom? But I can tell you a few things that were really interesting. It seems like severed limbs are going to be a big part of the new Doom game.
Woohoo!
Yeah, like... I'll read you a little bit from this Polygon article. Severed limbs were the order of the day. The player had a number of context-sensitive melee executions, allowing him to head stomp a foe, or in a particularly brutal offering, grab a demon's arms and tear it in half. At the end of the demo, a flying demon got the best of the player, ripping his arms off and beating him to death with them. In another demo, the player ripped out a chainsaw, which allowed him to carve up demons in different directions through the shoulder, torso, or straight down the middle. Rocket launchers separated demons' top parts from their bottom parts. So apparently this sounds like you got to be back by the time, I mean, you're going to be, but by the time the beta for this starts, you got to be back, because this sounds like some good old-fashioned Doom, the likes of which we haven't seen in a little while.
Yeah. It sounds like they're just going bananas with it. It's like, let's push the envelope. Let's make something violent and weird.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with. Yeah. I mean, it could be incredibly stupid. But, Doom 3 was just kind of lackluster.
Yeah.
Doom, what is this one? Doom 5? Doom 4?
This would be 4, but they're just calling it Doom.
Okay. Yeah, God, I lost track. I'm like, wait, do we have another one since then?
No.
Yeah, it's, they got to start pushing the envelope again.
Yeah, and I talked to, it was a couple podcasts ago where I was like, I would like something more from Doom than just like the same old, and I would stick with that. I mean, that sounds great, all the violence and gratuitousness, but as we all know, that's great like the first 2 or 3 times that you do it. Well, I don't know. Bulletstorm kind of managed to do that for 8 hours, and it was great.
Yeah.
Also, I like the fact that their new engine is IdTech 666. I think that, though, it would be nice of them to actually, show us, the people, a little bit of what they're doing. I think there was an article that I read before, a quote from the guy saying that, like, they didn't want to put out what they consider to be, like, very pre-release footage and then have people out there poring over the footage and nitpicking it and then judging it based on an incomplete version of the engine they're going to be using for the game. I can understand that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. I can tell you, man, IdTech 5 and Wolfenstein looks great. Did you get a chance to play any Wolfenstein yet?
No, not yet. I've played some, Battlefield, like I was saying, and Watch Dogs.
Okay. What do you think of Watch Dogs?
Boring.
Yeah. I really wish that I could have had you on that review because I
can't. I'm just like, okay, I'll play it. I'll play it for like 15, 20 minutes. Then I'm like, I'm going to go back and watch Justified. I'm going to watch some more Justified. When I'm playing it, I don't feel compelled to keep playing it.
Right. It's like, I mean, how much have you put into it so far? Like, how many hours?
Oh, not much.
Okay.
No, I don't even know if it's been an hour. But it's so cutscene heavy in the beginning, you know, and really kind of takes a while to get rolling. And I mean, it's not bad. It's just I'm not into it at all.
But
so I'll sit there and just distract myself. Like, okay, well, I'm gonna watch some more Justified, or maybe I'll put Wolfenstein in, or maybe I'll just kind of stare at the wall for a minute.
I mean, but you could now at least, even playing it for a short amount of time, you could back me up here, right? That like Aiden is one of the most boring protagonists you've ever seen in a video game.
Oh, he's a cipher. There's nothing there. Yeah, he's just this. Okay, ooh, you're a hacker.
Yeah. All right, we got one more story, and then we're going to go ahead and take a break. Do you remember a while back where we had that story that Marty O'Donnell from Bungie, the composer, left in a kind of a weird way?
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, he concluded he brought a case against Bungie, and they settled, and he got $95K for unpaid work, vacation time, and damages. So good
for him.
Mm-hmm. Which
actually stick it to the man.
After, I mean, for fuck's sake, I don't think they honestly do, but if they do have that $500 million budget, like, fuck you guys, pay the people.
Right.
And I could say that after playing a little bit of playing a little more of Destinies, because in the beta they've added more, which tune in next Wednesday, folks. In the beta they've added in more like cutscene stuff than they had in the alpha instead of dropping you in the world. I never really noticed the music in Halo, but for some reason I really noticed they've got a really nice, really punchy orchestral score in Destiny that really kind of makes everything seem a lot more dramatic and cool.
Nice. So, okay, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I want to spend some time with it this weekend, finally.
You actually really need to this weekend, because if you log into it this weekend and you do something, you get some kind of bonus gets added to your account that you get when the full game comes out. So,
oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, Saturday specifically, which will be the day before this actually goes up. And with that, we are out of news. There was, like I said, a few other stories out there that were kind of like, but I didn't really bother. It's kind of a light week. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break. But when we come back, we have about 8 emails that we're going to go ahead and get through. So stay tuned, everybody. And we are back, and it is time. It's time for the questions, Jason. But before that time, I have something that I need to talk to our listeners about. I think that you can help with this. So we get a lot of questions in here, and when y'all are deciding what questions that you want to send to us, you feel free to send whatever question you want to. But I'm going to tell you right now, your question has a much better chance of getting read on the air if it does not include the words "your favorite," or if you could put any X into Y, what would you do? Because And I don't know, like I'm kind of torn, Jason. Let me know what you think about this. It's because we've answered so many of these questions, right? Like over the years about what's your favorite blankety blank, or if you could put any, if you could put any Mario character into Silent Hill, which one would you put in? Obviously Birdo, but
clearly, well, he belongs there. She belongs there. Whatever.
But the question here is, we've answered these questions before, but a lot of those podcasts aren't around anymore, or even even if they're Rage Select podcasts, they're usually so far back that if a person wanted to hear them, I mean, this is like podcast 60 or something like that. That's 120, roughly 100 to 120 hours worth of you and me screaming about shit on the air. So it becomes a question of like, should we just keep answering the same questions over and over again, or should we demand that we get questions that we've never answered before?
Yeah, I mean, we can redo questions every now and then, because our opinions are going to change on some of them.
Okay, well, I'll start doing that. But honestly, guys, it's so hard, especially when we're asked. I mean, this happens on the live stream all the time, where people are like, "What is your favorite blank blank blank?" It is really difficult to come up with an answer because, boy, that stuff happens all the time. And I don't know about you, Jason, but I don't have. I mean, well, I guess a long time ago we had a podcast where somebody asked that question, and I was like, "That's a hard question." And you're like, "No, it's not." And then we got into an argument about that. Is that I don't necessarily think a lot of times in gaming terms about what my favorite, like you said, what's your favorite game of all time? I'd be like, I don't know, because
don't make me choose.
Right, there's so many.
That's Sophie's choice for Jeff.
Yeah, exactly. I love all my video game children, except for the early access ones. They're all bastards. Anyway, yeah, so if...
Drown them in the tub,
yeah.
You early access mongrels.
Okay, I'm going to take one classic question a week from now on, something that we've already talked about before, and if we have just the same answer that we had before, that's great. I'm just going to try... I mean, my memory is like a sieve, but I'll try to make it a question that we haven't answered in the last month. But if I detect that somebody's just asking the exact same question every month, then we may skip past that. Anyway, if you do want to send in a question, mail@rageselect.com is the email address. And our first one comes in from our friend Jujitsu, who says, "Hello, Ragecasters. Despite the fact that there are very few games where you play as the bad guy, I have always envisioned an RPG where you start out as a simple specter moving around objects and scaring a family, to being a malevolent, omnipotent being that can control and haunt just about everyone. If you had the choice to play as a villain, who would it be? P.S. Can we get a little Battletoads for the Academy? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if Grant's ready for that. We might have to go another season of training before.
Slow down, Jiu-Jitsu. Come on.
So what do you think? Any villain, I'm just going to say any villain out there, not doesn't necessarily have to be a video game villain, but just any villain at all. What do you think, Jason?
Any villain at all, not just a video game villain.
Yeah.
To play as that villain.
Mm-hmm.
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, has there not been a game where you play as motherfucking Darth Vader? Because
not really. I don't believe so. I mean, there have been some RTSs where there was a Vader unit.
I think that in one of the
a hero unit.
In the first Force Unleashed game, I think the first level, right, was you on Kashyyyk or something as Vader, just fucking a bunch of shit up, recovering Garen Malik as a kid, I think. But I would love a third person game where it's basically just all, I mean, TIE Fighter kind of did that a little bit because you're flying for the Empire. But how awesome would it be if they had a game where it was like, you are Darth Vader, and you have to go around the universe fucking up a bunch of Jedi, hunting down the Jedi and get rid of those rebel scum.
Ooh, do I get to kill younglings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of good bad guys out there that, I mean, it's funny how Metal Gear kind of actually has you playing as a bad guy.
Yeah.
I think I've always wanted, I ran a D&D campaign one time where I really wanted to do take the traditional RPG structure and then flip it on its head, where the world is peaceful and everything is great, but deep in the mountains you've got this one little glimmer of evil where you have to you have to get out there and you have to assemble the armies of Mordor essentially and stomp around and just burn shit to the ground. You have to make the world into. You have to conquer the world and make it all fucked up. I guess what was that game? Overlord.
Oh yeah. Well, you've got Overlord and Dungeon Keeper.
Yeah.
There are a handful, and there are some where it like really kind of skates the line between good and evil. Even like not even anti-hero, just like a jackass. So like the Legacy of Kain games.
Yeah, I think it's. I'm trying to think of video game stuff. I mean, I guess what they had the whole, like in StarCraft, they had the whole like Zerg campaign.
Yeah.
That was interesting, but I'm trying to think of good video game villains that I would like to play as.
Good video game villains?
Yeah.
Voss.
Oh, from Far Cry?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. I'd like to play a version of Skyrim where I play as the dragon asshole.
That's a good idea.
Fucking everybody out. Or you know what? Be really cool is if after Rocksteady got done with their Batman games, if they like made a Lex Luthor game.
Dude, the Arkham Origins hinted at a Sinister Six game, or not a Sinister Six, a Suicide Squad game.
Oh yeah. That would be cool.
Yes, it would.
I think villains. I mean, I think there's plenty of stuff to be done there, and I think that a lot of times, I think that villain stuff, or at least the anti-hero stuff, really ties into just how dark and cynical a lot of our media is, and I think that it gives you an instant way to. I mean, fuck, man, I'd play a Joker game. Mark Hamill came in and made me a whole Joker game. I'd play a whole Arkham game that was just being the Joker doing shitty shit to people.
I'd play the shit out of that. I'd take it to Homecoming. I would make love to that game and get it pregnant and raise the child right.
Okay, so you being a Marvel guy, what's the Marvel villain that you would most like to play a game where you play as them?
A Marvel villain that you get to play as them. That's a good question.
Dr. Doom would be cool.
There it is. That's the answer. Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom. That's the one.
Then you could just, while you're playing the game, they could have like Kinect voice integration where you could be like, Doom commands you to kneel. And then everybody kneels in front of you.
That would be badass. Yeah, just have all of the only referring to himself in third person and try to defeat the Fantastic Four. I was thinking a Thanos one would be cool. But like do it like Mass Effect, but where you're conquering the galaxy instead of liberating it.
There you go.
Oh shit, a Galactus video game.
That would actually be really cool if you could were able to combine some kind of like either Alpha Centauri or like Master of Orion style space empire shit.
Send out your heralds.
Yep. Of course. Then in the last level of the game would have to be you playing chicken with Mr. Fantastic and the Ultimate Nullifier, just being like, yeah, bitch, what? I don't care. I'm hungry all the time and I eat planets. Destroy the universe. I don't give a fuck anymore. At least I won't be hungry, bitch.
I like it.
Yeah. You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see a movie I'd like to see a Marvel movie. What would be really cool is if they had I don't think you could do it. I think people would probably get all stupid and shit. But what if Thor 3 was a Loki movie where Thor's kind of in the background, but you're really just following Loki around doing his shit?
Eminently watchable. He is definitely one of the standouts of the movies.
Or I'd even take, I don't know what their plans are with the whole Mandarin thing, but if Iron Man 4 was mainly a story about the actual Mandarin. Fuck, man, if you had a good enough writer, you could probably make Iron Man 4 mostly a story about Ben Kingsley trying to escape the actual Mandarin. I would probably watch that.
That short was great. I was ready to sit down for 90 minutes and watch the whole damn thing.
Yeah, that would be that could be. See, that's one of those things that I really that I think is really untapped potential. Where you've got these universes like Star Wars or like the DC universe, the Marvel universe, or any of these universes, where you could totally take what I would love is if while they're doing all the Phase 3 stuff like that. They took a few indie directors and just gave them like $15 million to make like a little, here is Ben Kingsley as the fugitive side story, 90 minutes. Just give it to a solid director who could just do a 90-minute, just kind of on the run crime noir thing. Where then, I don't know, maybe at the very end, not even Tony Stark, but like Rhodey shows up right at the very end of the movie, where you're like, here's a whole movie that's set in this universe that acknowledges that shit happens that's not just the Avengers and things that are going to blow up the entire world.
Oh, that's what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is for. Yawn.
Yeah, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't even as good as the crappy... Well, I don't know. I stopped watching after 4 episodes. Some people have said it got good, but I'm always a little leery about any show that wants me to go through an entire season just to get anything worth actually watching.
You mean most series by Joss Whedon?
Well, I don't know. I just recently rewatched Firefly, and I think the first couple episodes of Firefly are a little meh, but,
that's the exception.
Yeah.
Like, the first season of Buffy, it's like, well, get through the first season or 2, and then you're in.
Yeah, just watch 25, 50 hours worth of this show, and then you'll probably be compelled to watch the rest of it.
That is exactly what it is.
Yeah. All right, our next question is coming into us from Patio. Patio says, Dear Rage Crew, I once had a dream that I was watching the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie, only Keira Knightley had bright pink hair. All of a sudden, Keira started to take a shower, and the camera panned out to reveal a bright pink landing strip. I don't know why I chose this email. Or actually, I do know why I chose this email. Out loud,
what's happening?
In my dream, I said, like I'm supposed to believe that's her real hair color. I was so startled by my own assholey criticism that I woke up. Y'all seem to have contracted this cynical bug as well. Have you ever been surprised by a particularly dickish thing you've done or said? Thanks for everything, you classy gentlemen. Best, Patty O. And then, I don't even know if I should read this, but
wait, what was the question again?
Have you ever been surprised by a particularly dickish thing you've done or said?
Yes, but okay, continue.
P.S. So I'm sorry. I'm really sorry ahead of time, everybody. Jason, I'm sorry to you. I'm sorry. P.S. New work toilet conundrum. I found a poop-covered plastic picnic knife at the bottom of the stool. Was this A, an impossible itch, B, a means by which to chisel a particularly dense turd, or C, an instrument of German fetishism? And then parentheses, he says, I work with several Germans. I'm going to go... I don't even want to speculate.
I don't know. Oh, my God. It's not every day you find feces-covered flatware. I would stay far away from it, and wow, I really just tape that whole stall off.
I would say, Patty, no matter where you are, like if you're in a public toilet, maybe don't go to the bathroom out in public anymore. And if this was at the place that you work, maybe get a new job, because I don't know what the fuck is going on in there.
Yeah, is there some sort of poo sculpturing going on? Fritz, Carl, come, look. It is very clearly Mario. It's like, oh, you really captured the Mario-ness of the Mario. He's also very stinky from being in the sewers. Oh, Carl, you are so funny.
So, all right. Do you want to? I'm sure that both of us have stories for miles about. I mean, I'm a little bit more uptight than you, so I don't have any like. I mean, I've got a few super dick stories, but mostly it's when I'm drunk. But do you want to pick? You want to pick one from your past, Jason, to relay to the people?
You know, I'm trying to think of one. You go first if you've got one.
Okay, I can't tell. You end up when you talk like all week, every week, sometimes you forget what you've already said. But there was a night where I was at this person's house. I used to hang out with a bunch of service industry people, right? So they would get to the bar at midnight and then just drink like crazy. And then we would all go back to their house where we would stay up until 6 o'clock in the morning drinking like another 18 to 20 beers. Uh-oh. You back?
Back.
Okay, can you hear me? All right.
Yep.
Where did I cut out?
It was for about 5 seconds.
Okay. I'll just start the story over again.
Okay, yeah, do that.
All right, so back in my checkered past, I used to hang out with a bunch of service industry people, and this meant that these are people who would get off of work at midnight, I mean, I don't know if you guys listening at home, I didn't know for a long time, but you want to get some shit done as far as getting wasted, you can go find waiters and cooks and shit like that. Those people.
Yes.
Like we're talking about, these were the nights where I took my shirt off and let people shoot me in the chest with a paintball gun. I was so drunk and it was like 50 outside.
Man, you never get that drunk around me. I want to shoot you in the chest with a paintball gun.
Well, we need to find some service industry people. That's what I'm talking about. But one night I got really hammered. I went to the after party at this woman's house, and it was this girl, and it was maybe when I was like 27 or something like that. So around 8 or 9 years ago. And there was this woman, she went to the bar all the time with us motley group, and she was maybe in her like late 20s, and I was a little bit older than she was. And I remember she had braces. She had like top and bottom braces. And I was sitting there, and I don't remember what it was that possessed me, but I was like, you're pretty hot for a fucking cyborg. And she hauled off and just slapped me upside the head. And that was when I realized, I was like, she slapped me. It was I think the only time in my life that a woman has ever, just been like smack. And I'd be honest here, like I deserve that shit, right? I mean, you're in your 20s, you're hanging out with a bunch of bar people, you expect them not to be jerks like that, right?
Yeah.
But she did that, and I kind of liked it. And instead I was like, can you do the other side? And so she did the other side as well to even me out. Because that's the worst thing about getting slapped is, after the initial pain, your cheeks all buzzy and it feels good and stuff. And I was so drunk, I had barely felt it. And I was just like, yeah, can even me out over here. But that's the funniest saying shitty things story that I have. I've got other saying shitty things stories that are not really very funny. We can get right down to it.
You want to hear mine?
Yeah, go for it.
So, it was it was immediately after my grandmother's funeral. Mm-hmm. This was a couple of years ago. It was very close to my grandmother. Mm-hmm. And I was hungry, and I was just like, I know there's going to be food back at the house where everyone's meeting and everything, but there's a Subway right here by the cemetery. I'm just going to go in and get a sandwich and just kind of catch my breath and everything. And it was emotional and horrible.
Right.
So I, took my jacket off and left it in the car, and I had on like black pants, black shoes, black vest, black tie with a white undershirt. Mm-hmm. And so I walk into the Subway and order my sandwich, and the girl just looks at me, this ignorant fucking cunt. She says, "Are you a limo driver?"
Oh.
And I just kind of looked out to the parking lot, and I looked back at her, and I said, "No. Do you work at Subway?" She said, "Yeah." "Then make my fucking sandwich."
Okay. What was her response to that?
She made the fucking sandwich.
Made your fucking sandwich?
Yeah, her jaw dropped a little bit. But yeah. I was in no mood to be trifled with, and I think that was very clear that there was barely simmering berserker rage, barely contained berserker rage just beneath the surface. So she made the sandwich and then whispered all bitchily to her coworkers, and I just walked out like, whatever. Yeah.
Having worked at a Subway, I can tell you that actually, it's good that I do what I do now, because believe it or not, the thing I hate more than anything out in the real world is helping customers. It's like when they were like, "So, how about that weather?" And I just want to be like, "Would you shut up? You don't have to talk to me. I'm not your friend. I'll do whatever. I'll fix your computer. I'll make your sandwich. I'll do whatever it is that you want me to do, but we're not friends, and go fuck yourself, because I don't want to have a relationship with you. We don't all have to be friendly. You could just be like, let's do this." That's why when I told my story about the post office, I was so impressed with the guy there who didn't try to make small talk with me while I was mailing all the Loco Steve shirts. He was just like,
"Oh, yeah."
Just doing his job, because back when I worked in technical support and they would grade you on how personable you are, and I'm like, I thought I was getting paid to solve problems, not be best
not
friend.
Make friends.
Yeah, to lonely retirees in Florida. And I know they want to talk about their grandkids, but I don't give a fuck about their grandkids. So
I could just see you like working at the post office, and some old woman is mailing something, and you're like putting the package together, and she's like, "Oh, my grandkid," and you look at, shut the fuck up, Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, this is for my grandchildren. I hope they're dead. Is it cancer? I would really like it if you mailed your kids cancer. That would be great. No, I mean, that's the thing is, I don't actually. I mean, you know, I don't say these things. I'm just not interested. Like, I'm just not interested in being people's friend. It's why I'm terrible at Facebook, because I don't care what you had for lunch. I mean, you know, you Instagram whatever. It's fine. I don't really care about it, but. You know, yeah, anyway, it's tiring to me to pretend to be people. All right, we got a real easy one coming up, and this one, I've only have one answer for this. This may be a real short question. So this one comes in from Jove, who says, hello, Jeff and Jason. What do you guys think of the summer movies that have been released so far this year? Winter Soldier, Godzilla, X-Men, etc. I would especially like to hear what Jason has to say about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, since it has been getting a lot of mixed reviews. Thank you, and keep up the good work, Jove.
You know, I've missed a bunch of them, and Amazing Spider-Man 2 is unfortunately one of those, because I heard so many mixed reviews, and I was just like, oh, okay, you know what, I can wait. Even though I'm a massive, rabid Spider-Man fan, you know, it's like, well, if I hear something's mediocre, you're sure as shit not going to drag me to the movies to see it, to a theater. I'll wait to watch it in the privacy of my own home. So I missed that. I didn't see X-Men, unfortunately. Yeah, despite, you know, loving the X-Men, never did get around to it. I have seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Captain America, Edge of Tomorrow.
What's been the best so far?
Captain America.
Captain America?
Yeah, by a long shot. Like Captain America. That was, I don't even know if I'd consider that summer, because didn't that come out in like May or something?
Oh, I don't know.
Or like April rather?
I don't. Okay, let's see. March 13th. No, April 4th. April 4th.
Yeah, so that's I don't know that I would consider that a summer movie, but I really liked Edge of Tomorrow, and I thought Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was okay.
I have in this summer seen precisely Captain America the Winter Soldier and Transformers 4, and of those two, Captain America the Winter Soldier was way better than Transformers 4. I remember going to go see last year, was it last year that Pacific Rim came out?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I really enjoyed watching that in the theater. That was one of those ones that, you know, there's a lot of movies like people say, oh, you got to go see Gravity in the theater. And I understand what they were saying, but I didn't, because I've got to make a real serious effort to go to the theater, because I don't necessarily like it. But I was really happy that I went to go see Pacific Rim in the theater, because that's one of those ones where just being in a crowd and then having all the THX and the big screen with the big robots, you know, like I probably could have watched Captain America in my house and it wouldn't have been. I probably wouldn't have lost all that much. The only reason I went to the theater, I guess that's the thing. Are you like this, Jason, that I went to the theater? I don't really give a shit about seeing it on the giant screen most of the time.
You know, it doesn't. I'm more happy. You know, people say, oh, you need to see it on the big screen. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, well, I'll scoot closer to the TV.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
you know, I know it's not the same, but I'd much rather watch it in the privacy of my own home, get a big TV, and that's just fine.
Yeah, me too. Like we said last week, if I could pay way too much to get this stuff while it was in the theater in my house, I would totally do that. And
oh yeah, I did that with Snowpiercer the other day.
We talked about that last week.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's see, 2014 summer movies. Let's just see Summer Movie Guide 2014. Let's see if there's anything that we're missing here. Did the Raid 2 count as a summer movie?
No, that was like March or something, right?
I don't know. So what do we still have? I mean, Guardians. If it's still the summertime, Guardians might end up being that. I'm so goddamn excited for that movie that it might end up being more. I might like that better than Winter Soldier. So
you are not the only one. Everyone is like giddy about it.
Yeah,
and those who aren't giddy about it are thrilled because they've already seen it. Because a bunch of our friends in Austin saw it tonight, and the reviews are starting to pop up on Twitter, and it's a lot of OMFG.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm trying. Maleficent. No, don't care. 22 Jump Street. I never saw the first one of those. I never.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah,
it was funny.
That's what everybody says. I just haven't gotten around to it. Tampa, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I actually movie. Do you ever listen to Movie Bob, Jason?
No.
This is he's a guy over at The Escapist who does kind of movie reviews, but I like his pop culture criticism a lot. He actually, though, he had really good stuff to say about the Purge anarchy.
I'm curious. One of the trailers I saw was really intense, and it is a ham-fisted bit of political criticism, so it would seem. But you have to treat a movie like that and like Snowpiercer and what have you. I think I might have said this last week, like a Twilight Zone episode, or like reading Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. Yes, the premise that it's hinged on is preposterous, but once you get past that and use it as a storytelling tool, then then go with it.
What he was saying for this was that it seemed like he was saying that the whole home invasion motif from the first one totally gone. This is people out on the streets.
Oh, yeah.
So it's more like the Warriors than it is like what was the Liv Tyler movie where people were trying to get into her house, whatever. And
the Strangers.
The Strangers, yeah. That it's more like, and then it's actually has a lot more in common with like cheesy 80s action movies. And I'm like, that sounds great. Like, you showed a clip of the main action dude just like grabbing this guy at point blank range and shooting him in the chest with a pistol. And I was like, I want to watch that movie. I would like to watch that movie right now. I'm also interested in Lucy, even though it's got kind of middling reviews. I wouldn't mind seeing Scarlett Johansson punch a bunch of shit. So,
yeah, it's middle of the road, and it's Luc Besson who is hit or miss.
Yeah. What about Sin City? Do you think that's going to be anything but a steaming pile of garbage?
I don't know. I didn't like the first one the first time I saw it, then I watched it again. I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. Now, I have no idea. I really don't know.
I think that for me, I just can't tell because it's not an existing story, right? And Frank Miller's so off his rocker that, like, if it was an existing Sin City story, well,
it's not a Dame to Kill For?
It is a Dame to Kill For, but they're doing it the same way as the first one. I think they said that he's written two other stories that are around that, right? So it's not like they expanded a Dame to Kill For. It's a Dame to Kill For, and then it's got two other original stories. So I don't know. I can't tell. The first one was such a it showed me why you don't just directly film a comic book, because I've read those comics a million times and it was boring, because I know everything that's going to happen. I even know how it's going to look because they're just filming it exactly like it looks in the comics. So, yeah. Expendables 3. Does anybody... Okay, Rage Select listeners...
Just hit the torrent sites.
What?
Yeah.
I don't even care enough to steal that.
Yeah, me neither.
Expendables 1 was kind of okay, not really, and then Expendables 2 was a steaming pile of garbage. And
I didn't see the second one.
The part where Chuck Norris walks out and starts making Chuck Norris jokes was the point where I wanted to grab the movie by its lapels and go, "You can't be in on the joke, motherfucker." Like, the whole point of a movie like The Expendables is you have to make a serious action movie that ends up being funny, whether by design or by the script or whatever. But like at the end of The Expendables 2, there's a scene where Bruce Willis and Arnold Schwarzenegger are driving through this action scene in a little car, and they're both making jokes to each other about the various movies that they've been in, where they're using like catchphrases from, like, Arnold's doing Willis Die Hard catchphrases or shit like that. And I'm just like, we get to be in on the joke. We get to be in on that this is stupid. You guys have to play it straight, because if you guys are winking and nudging us the whole time, then just fuck yourself. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that. That's yeah, it's like you're just embracing self-parody, and that's not what people want out of these movies.
Yeah, you know what I'd really rather see about The Expendables is a spin-off movie where they take Terry Crews and they write an Expendables movie where he gets to be the guy from the Old Spice commercial, but shooting people in the face.
Yes,
I would watch the shit out of that movie.
Make it happen. Just screaming all the time.
Yeah,
surrealist humor.
Just his shirt off the entire movie.
Yeah.
And then film it for like $4 million, like a bad 80s. Just film it on. Go find an old camera, not a digital camera, but just like a real camera, and just film Terry Crews punches people, the movie. All right, our next one comes in from our friend Carl. Carl says, "Hey, fellas, I don't know if at this time Jason will be back from his travels." He is not. If he is, I hope you got all the alien vag that you could. Yeah. Have you, Granny Goodness is, she's down to DTF. Have you checked?
Hey, you know what? I am doing a little bit of scouting, not for myself, for alien vag, since I don't want to be responsible for Allison committing genocide of an entire new species.
Right.
But I am scoping out ladies for you, sir.
If you can get Big Barda back over here, I know she's from Apocalypse.
Yeah, I was already thinking Granny Goodness, ugly, horrible ladies. You know what? I'm not even going to Kobayashi Murphu you on this. I think you would probably have sex with the species alien.
Oh, Natasha Henstridge?
Yeah, knowing that she would kill you.
No, I like being alive a lot. So if it's guaranteed, yeah, that's probably not going to work out for me. If there's a chance, if it's like a 20% chance, I don't know. I don't know.
And that's where the Kobayashi Murphu lives.
Yeah. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, Natasha Henstridge is. I've never been just like bowled over by her, right? Or you just look at her and you're just like, oh my God, she's just so gorgeous. I don't know. Anyway, Carl says the cost of video game development has gone up in large amounts in recent times, with no one coming up with a way of maintaining current generation quality while bringing costs down. With that said, could No Man's Sky has be the way to rectify? Carl, okay. This game has been made by a team that normally would only be a small section of a larger whole in the development effort. Yet the game seems to rival anything and everything we have seen so far in video games. So should No Man's Sky prove to work, could we see a shift to procedural generation to keep games at a lower cost while keeping us at the standard of gaming that we have become accustomed to? Always keep it classy. Regards, Carl.
That's an interesting perspective, but I think that if you always go with procedurally generated, then you can't shape the storytelling experience as well.
True. I think that there's it's funny. Have you listened to anybody? I've actually listened to a bunch of interviews with the No Man's Sky guys, and they've got this program where they have this procedurally generated universe, but then they have bots inside of that universe that will go and take animated GIFs of all the planets, and then they have like a giant wall where you can just hit a planet, and it'll bring you up a bunch of GIFs of various places on there so they can spot check them essentially. Which is really cool. I think
that's rad.
I like the idea that we're using the more the better processing power that we've got to do more procedurally generated stuff. I think that so far, I don't think that it's going to lead to. I mean, I think we're probably going to see more procedurally generated games because if you can get those algorithms down, it's good. But No Man's Sky also seems like it's one of those. Like the thing that's immediately coming to mind about it is Grand Theft Auto 3, right? Perfectly functional, believable city, but you can't go into any of the buildings, and there's not a lot out there. So. You look at something like, okay, sorry, everybody. You look at something like the original Dark Souls, right? The way that world is, I know, yeah. The way that world is put together, like the way that whole world interlocks with itself, I don't think that's ever going to be a thing that you can get out of a procedurally generated algorithm. On the other hand, I feel like in 5 to 10 years, you could probably get this shit to the point where you could have Skyrim. Where you could, because we've already seen procedurally generated like dungeons and stuff like that, and then procedurally generated overworld. It seems like No Man's Sky is working on that particular problem. So then if you were able to gin up some kind of housing type of stuff and then populate it with what I'm really looking forward to is procedurally generated like quests and dialogue, like where they have enough of a Mad Lib structure that you can load the game, go to a town, and have a different set of quests. Have a quest giver with procedurally generated dialogue that will send you to a procedurally generated dungeon with a procedurally generated boss and procedurally generated loot that all would be of the same quality that we would get out of a game like, say, Skyrim.
See, But that doesn't seem like it would be making the cost go down. That actually seems like it would be making it go up.
I guess it would depend on. I mean, you'd have to do R&D to get the algorithms right for it. But I mean, like think about if you did it as a like Diablo style, right? So let's say that you had your game create dungeons, because Diablo creates dungeons and Diablo creates environments and stuff like that. But in the way that Diablo creates those tiles to make that experience, then you had a second layer that took all of that and translated into actual 3D. So that instead of putting down a picture of a tree, you're telling the system there's actually a tree here. I think they could do it. I think that it would take time, but I think that if you started to get the technology, I think that combined with, we've already seen Konami and a few other companies. Oh, you weren't at RTX, but John and I saw a company at RTX that does scanning, high-res 3D scanning that outputs a Maya model. So you say, is it less work to hire somebody to create all the outfits of your game, or is it less work to actually just go hire a costume person to make costumes for people and then scan them into the game? I think that between those different types of systems, you could see some really crazy shit happen. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be fascinating, but I mean, in the terms of the purposes of the question, I don't think that's feasible. You're still going to have to go traditionally designed to get some epic storytelling, or any really finely crafted storytelling, because you would have to keep everything loose and flexible if you don't do it like that. So. Yeah, I think it's going to be too much of a hurdle. It's like if they're going to try to do something, it's like, well, it's going to be procedurally generated, but it's going to have all the organic feeling and natural, tight storytelling of something that is crafted. You're just going to go ahead and just make it's just giving. If you're doing something like that's procedurally generated, it feels like you're doing way more than you need to. So it's like, well, if we're going to tell this specific story, let's just do what we need to tell this story.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you could procedurally generate fine literature, well, then, Jason, you should find a new job, I guess. But, I mean, if you could procedurally generate good ideas, that would be one thing. I kind of look at it as more of a way of, like, if you had a game like Skyrim where the main quest was always the same, but the side quests were generated, so they're of a lower quality than the writing of the main quest, but there's still color filler that you can add in, where every time you play the game, it's going to be different. I think you could get something out of that. I mean, I was surprised at how far it went with Rogue Legacy, like being able to play, even though the levels were very simple, being able to go into a Metroidvania game that was different every time you went through it. If they could really hone that stuff so that they could get it as close to hand put together content as humanly possible, it may at least come to a point where, I don't know, it'd be fun. I mean, it doesn't seem like it should be incredibly ridiculous given the technology that we have right now. But yeah, as far as the main thrust of the story, I totally agree with you. You can't just have some kind of magical game machine that's just spitting out AAA game after AAA game.
Yeah. Just put it in the computer and it'll work.
Yeah. All right. The next one comes in from Grandmaster. And he says, "Hi there, Messiahs of Dongacles. Grandmaster Death back with a question about my friend Pat. One day at a friend's house, I was playing Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes when I told Pat about what happened to Paz. When I did, he replied that, quote, Hideo Kojima is a sick piece of shit and that he only added that to get more views on his game, unquote. And no matter what I say, he will stay with that mindset. This leads me to my question. Has there ever been a moment in media, comics, movies, etc., that you felt something was just done in order to drive up more views or buying on the content? Stay classic, Grandmaster Death." Well, first of all, I feel that you could tell your friend that when you talk about what happened to Paz, you have to go digging for that. They didn't put that like I played through Ground Zero several times without even running across all the audio tapes and learning what had happened there. So I don't feel like that was put in for shock value, because if it was, they'd be like, horrible rape, like on the front of the box, I don't know, or whatever. But
yeah, I mean, if they're not putting it front and center, then are they really trying to capitalize on it?
I have no idea what Kojima is doing. Like, I've already been on record as saying that I think that everything I've seen for the new game so far seems a little bit like too dark for me.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as sick piece of shit, there's a difference between exploitation and, I mean, Hideo Kojima is a weird guy, right? You look at and I know that I'm defending him because I like his games. I know that. But if you look at him, the dude's weird. He's had fucked up, crazy, like kind of fucked up stories in a lot of the Metal Gear games. This is darker than a lot of the games, but it's not like he's been making Super Mario Brothers and suddenly he decided to make a Saw game. You know, Metal Gear has dealt a lot with death and duty and people getting bad shit happen to them. Look at what happened to the boss. Look at the story of the B&B Corps in Metal Gear Solid 4, where every one of the women that was in there was essentially traumatized by the horrors of war, and they go into like super detail about what happened to them, and it's kind of fucked up. As far as the sensationalizing, I mean, Jason, you obviously, we could think of a dozen examples.
Oh, yeah. Almost any time they kill off a comic book character.
Yeah. Or, there's stuff that they put into movies or TV shows or whatever that is there just to be controversial to sell more copies. And sometimes I guess it's not. Like, I think that I only ever heard about the movie Irreversible because of the horrible shit that happened there.
Yeah.
There have been a couple of other, I don't think I would have gone to the video store all by myself and gone like, Cannibal Holocaust. That seems like the sort of movie that I want to watch while I eat Panda Express.
Yeah.
There's some movies that trade on that kind of exploitation. I don't necessarily.
Well, that's what that's why they call them exploitation films. That's
right.
What Saw is. You know, that's what Hostel is.
Mm-hmm.
Story be damned. It's let's show you some fucked up stuff. And that's why I like, especially Hostel. I just think, okay, well, that's got its market, and they were clearly successful films. But I just feel like, you can do better.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of depends. Like, sometimes that stuff is legitimately... Okay, so here's the thing, Grandmaster Death, that you can tell to your friend, right? Throughout the course of human history, at least in my opinion, Jason, you tell me how full of shit I am if I think I'm wrong, there is a fine line that is out there between what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And a lot of times, some of the most influential art or cultural shifts or things like that happen on the very edge of that line, and a lot of times they'll go over that line, and depending on how much they go over that line, sometimes they're embraced and it's about pushing the boundaries of what we can talk about or what we're aware of. Or I mean, there's a whole you go back and look at like what gay rights were like when people wouldn't even never talk about that shit, and some people had to get out there on the edge of what some people in our world and in this country specifically considered to be some sick shit, right, that you don't ever talk about. Is that a lot of times the stuff that's pushing where our culture is going is the stuff that is out on the edges. And I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that Hideo Kojima or Ground Zeroes is one of these things, but a lot of times when you've got a person who wants to make some kind of statement or wants to try to influence people, they have to be right on the edge of what is acceptable, and a lot of times right on the other side of what is acceptable, pushing that boundary out and working in places that nobody's worked before in order to do things that nobody's seen before, because that's where you get some real serious creativity that happens.
And the line of what's acceptable is always shifting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's actually happening faster and faster these days than it used to. I mean, these used to be that if you were working on the fringe elements, you could be there for a decade. You could be there all your life and never get any traction on it. But now we seem to be pushing further and further out to what we're doing. So you can usually tell, right? You could tell the difference between Saw and Irreversible and what those two movies are doing.
Right.
And I think that for Ground Zeroes, I mean, there's definitely a lot of people out there, and I'm not necessarily saying that I'm not one of them, who think that this is just an exploitation move. But on the other hand, that's what has to happen with video games, is that we have to have video games. In order for video games to really get to the place where I think a lot of us want them to go, we've got to have games that are going to make you uncomfortable. We've got to have games where you go, whoa, 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 what the fuck, man? Because that's part of the power of the medium, is using the interactivity to put you into places that you never thought you would be. And that's part of the things that can make video games one of the most important tools for storytelling that we have seen ever in the history of mankind. Jeff, rant over.
And well said, sir.
Yep. All right, we got 2 more questions. This next one has a lot of question marks at the end. The subject line is question, and then like 25 question marks. This one is from Carlos, who says, "Hello, Rage Masters. Sorry if this is a bit long. My question is in regards to easy mode mockery. By that, I mean when a video game openly mocks and or tries to humiliate you just for playing on a lighter difficulty. A notable exception being the Ninja Dog mode from Ninja Gaiden with its insults and pink ribbon. I have no problem admitting that I play the occasional game on easy, more often than not, because I just want to coast through them and let myself be absorbed by the story being presented with hardly any immersion-breaking fail screens. I don't mind if a game hides certain unlockables, features, or endings from me because of it. I understand that. It's when it tries to make me feel like I'm less of a man because I'm on easy that I start to get a tiny bit annoyed. Anywho, what are your thoughts on this and general stigma placed on easy mode within the gaming community? Thanks for reading and rage on, good sirs. Your loyal fan and patron, Carlos."
Well, I don't think this is anything that's particularly endemic of video games. It's just, oh, you can't eat the hot sauce, or oh, you can't drink liquor straight, and that kind of thing. It's just a level of difficulty. But yeah, I'm actually glad there are easy modes on there, because there are a lot of games that I know a lot of gamers out there would not get to experience if they were just insanely hard. Now, I'm not saying that all games need that. Some games that kind of the point is they're insanely hard,
right,
and you don't want to take that away from them. You want to see something that really, it's like the more difficult it is, the more rewarded you are in a lot of cases when you beat the game, like with Ninja Gaiden. But yeah, no, I don't have a big problem with it. I think it's kind of funny. I thought the Ninja Gaiden thing was funny about them making fun of, with the pink ribbons and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's braggadocio. It's just that's just how it goes with how people treat each other well, if you're a real man, you'd have one more beer, or it's, oh, really, you only ran 0.5 in the marathon? Well, I ran a full mile or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, anybody that tries to hammer on you, anytime any goddamn person says you're not a quote finger real gamer, you could probably just kind of write that person off as a piece of shit, quite frankly, because you know what? Actually, I'll expand that to what you were talking about, is anybody who tries to make you qualify what you're doing through social pressure is probably not worth listening to. Anybody who basically is going to ridicule you for not being them, which is really what it comes down to. What do you mean you can't play that game on Legendary? I play it on Legendary. It's fine. So you're just a pussy because I'm using this to feel good about myself. And you go, hey, I got nothing wrong with you saying that you feel good about yourself because you played the game on super hard. But if everybody did everything the way that everybody did it, this shit would be boring. And anybody who tries to make you feel bad because you do something not the right way, as somebody who has an entire fan base who basically backseat games me every time I play a video game, I had to just let that shit go. I can't believe you didn't see that. I go, yeah, well, that's what happened. So, bada boom. But yeah, I kind of, I'll tell you what though, Jason, the Ninja Gaiden thing pissed me off because that game is notoriously hard, and mocking anybody who wants to just play through this game and who finds it too difficult to play on normal, that I felt was a dick move, because that, the cutscenes were all, as far as I remember, in the in-game engines. That means like every time that Ryu is making a dramatic speech or facing down a bad guy or getting into his ninja stance, he's got the pretty pink ribbon coming off of him, and it's just like, all right, just go fuck yourself, Ninja Gaiden. Like, it's okay for me not to want to play the hardest game of all time, says the guy who plays Dark Souls all the time. So, all right. Well, I got one more question, and this is one. Actually, I have apparently through just I don't know, unconsciously picked a question that we've answered before. So this will be the first of our throwback questions. So this one says, Dear Jeff and Jason or Grant, if he is on, or maybe Kevin or Nick, hi. Seeing as how, I forgot, you're on Skype. I could totally start getting Kevin and Nick on this bullshit. Seeing as how horror games need to innovate to continue to scare people, and how Jeff seemed unnerved by the scenes in something like Amnesia and Outlast, I don't know if that word means what you think it means. What next terrifying idea would work? Do you think the use of the uncanny valley would be effective? Could a game feature a few characters that look totally really impressive and believable but move really weirdly and creepily to scare gamers in a brand new context? Also, could you guys get Rocksteady to make a Loco Steve skin for Arkham Knight, or a recording of Jason saying ding dong as DLC? Ray John like Donkey Kong Joe.
I like that. I like that last one. Yeah, Loco Steve DLC.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need.
Okay, did you see the thing? It was somebody posted to my thing where the guy who does the Kingdom Hearts character design did a character design for Batman.
No. Oh, yeah. I did. Somebody put that on my Facebook page.
Yeah. That was weird. First of all, I don't think I was actually unnerved by Amnesia or Outlast. I was kind of the opposite of that. But I think, to be honest, we've talked about it a few times, but my answer to this question is going to be, I so goddamn want a game where you start playing it and it's like a third-person action shooter or whatever, and then like not even at the beginning, but like 2 hours into just generic third-person shooter or first-person shooter, suddenly that shit turns into a horror game. Like,
yeah, because
to me, the best horror is unexpected horror, where it kind of comes out of nowhere. There have been a few games that will suddenly feature like a level that's more horror oriented. You've played games like that before, right? Where just like they've got one level.
Oh yeah.
It's more like a Resident Evil than what you've been playing, and you're just like, "Ooh, I like this." It's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, well, that's how horror is actually more effective. It's like you have to generally, in most cases, let people rest and have some normality and everything, so that the horror, when it appears, is that much more horrific. If it's just a constant brutal assault on your senses, that rarely works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it, have some quiet, normal moments. And, I'm trying to think of an example, but I don't know. I like a lot of really weird, normal, suburban, quiet. And then you realize, wait, something's not quite right here, and yeah, it's, there are, we could go on all night about, design our own, game or something like that, with how you would execute that. But, yeah, it's. I don't know if the uncanny valley would work, because you'd really have to, in order to have people to bring people into the uncanny valley, you would have to also have things that exist outside of it. You know what I mean?
Right. I think in all honesty, I think I had this idea a long time ago when I was thinking about what could be done with. I think it was the last time when we played the last Silent Hill game, but I really like the idea of making a game that's not bang bang shoot 'em up, but like something that is a multiplayer game with a very simple interface, but like, when you start the game, maybe have a thing where everybody knows that when you start the game, there's going to be a screen that comes up on one person's screen that's like, your job is to kill everybody else in here and get away with it.
Yeah.
And then maybe have a very small environment, kind of like Spy Party. Do you remember that game?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of like that, but with more of a horror element. But I've always thought that it would be really cool if you had what triggered in my mind was thinking of playing like Silent Hill 2, right? But playing it multiplayer with other people, but then have the game fuck with you. Like sometimes the other players in the game are going to show up and they're going to look like monsters to you, and it's going to be up to you to be able to tell the difference between the way that monster is moving and the way another player would move, and to doubt your surroundings. And then for the other side, imagine a scenario where you're playing with another person, that person goes in a door, the game turns that person into a monster, so that they look like a monster to you, and then the game throws a big monster at that person, so they come running out the door at you, and then it's up to you to figure out whether that's actually a monster running at you or whether that's another person, or just things like that. Because I think
make The Thing multiplayer.
Yeah, exactly. And then like have a thing where one person comes up and says on their screen, "You were the thing." Like your job is to not be found out.
Yeah.
You know, it would be even better if you had like voice comms in it where people had to lie, or you had, certain parts where, you imagine like if one person gets killed in your party and then it says like 1 point to the thing, and you're like, shit, somebody else here is the fucking thing, and then you're all paranoid and stuff. I think it could be really cool because people at heart will go into those kind of paranoid role-playing scenarios. But I've never seen a horror game or even a multiplayer game that tries to really exploit that social aspect. It's always like, well, here's apples to apples online, or here's Carcassonne, or it's Call of Duty.
Well, it sounds the closest thing I can think to that is like Assassin's Creed multiplayer.
Yeah, sort of like that. That's a good example. And I think you could totally do something like that. I think that'd be really interesting. Or, you could always do the sort of thing where you had like, with the Fable game that they're making, where you have like 4 people who are playing. Well, I like Silent Hill because it's popular and everybody knows what it is. So like 4 people playing Silent Hill, and then one person playing as like the Overlord game director who's going to try to kill them off one at a time. So,
I would play the hell out of this. This sounds really intriguing.
All right, Kickstarter time. We're going to get $500,000 for Kickstarter. We're totally going to make this game, or we're going to make hookers and cocaine. I can't decide which one yet. That's the gamble that you take in Kickstarter, is it?
Yeah, it's read the fine print. Come on.
That's right. And that is our show for this week. So, Jason, where are you off to next in the galactic scheme of things? Made a decision yet?
Zardoz, whatever planet that was on.
Oh, the planet of Zardoz? I thought that was Earth, dude.
Was it Earth? I think you're right.
Well, we'll pick it up next week, and we can check in with you. It'll be a surprise for people. But
yes.
Until then, folks, if you want to send your question in, mail@rageselect.com is the email address. That's mail@rageselect.com. If for some reason you skip over the front of this, you may want to go back and listen to when I'm talking about people here in Austin, because I don't know if that's going to happen, but I want to see kind of what sort of response we get and then take it from there. So yeah, until next week, keep on raging.